Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu jami'an ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba abikum. I'd like to thank all my brothers and sisters who have been supporting me at Black American Muslim Opinions. Just wanted to shout some of you guys out who've been giving donations. And inshallah, I will have shortly, inshallah soon, our new goals and phases for donations for building up Black American Muslims' opinions. I have been out for a while. I had COVID from last week. I'm getting over it now. And it appears the recovering from COVID is as bad as having COVID. So, alhamdulillah, I've been feel a lot better. And my children, we had COVID also, and one of my elderly parents. So this is why I haven't done any lives lately, because I was sick with COVID for about a couple of days last week. And the recovery is actually as bad as COVID itself. Inshallah, thanks for those who've been asking and sending some messages and things like that. Tonight or this afternoon, I really want to talk about a particular post I seen today. Anybody know me? I'm Abu Baraa Muhammad Amreeki, that I have for a long time on Facebook and other social media, or talk about the neo-Salafi movement, meaning Salafi publications. And I have a website also, which is titled islamfinest.space, and it was formerly known as islamfinest.com. This website I had dedicated for over 10 years now, alhamdulillah, dealing with Salafi publications and the associates, some of the misbehaviors of theirs in our community, with their understanding of Islam that is warped, and their understanding of Salafiyya itself, which is not correct. I think if you go to my website, and you can find it at islamfinest.space, and just read the about page, a little bit about myself and my bio and my studies. But I started the website basically to keep up with the Arabic language after I came back from Egypt. And I translated a lot of things from Sheikh Saleh Al-Fawzan, Hafidhullah. And I have translated things from Sheikh bin Baz, Rahimullah, and some other scholars. But me coming from the US and coming from the Salafi community, in particular, the Salafi community that follows more so of SP, which is short for Salafipubs. That's Abu Khadija and their associates, Hassan Samali. For many years, I've been following them here in New York, and many of the Salafi brothers. And their understanding of Salafiyya has very much destroyed the African American Salafi community, the African American Muslim community. They had definitely destroyed. I have a post on Black American Muslims' opinion about two Pakistanis that destroyed two Black Sunni movements in America, and Abu Khadija is actually one of them, who I feel who destroyed the Black Salafi movement from the African American Muslim community from the inside. All right. So I have a lot of things already spoke about this for years. I also have a book I've been working on for a while. I gave it a little time out to let other books that I have been working on or finished the editing. But I have been working on some things related to advice to the followers of Salafipubs and associates. I have a book that I'm working on advice to Salafipubs and associates. Inshallah, I'm also trying to get the brother Abul Aaliyah battles. He also have a new book, which is talking about Salafipubs with the extremes. I don't think I have the book in front of me. I have done a few reviews on the book itself, and I've been reading. The brother works for many years, and he has more insight about Salafi pubs, Abu Khadija, that he used to be with them for years. So when he exposes them, he's talking from insight and knowledge from being with them. So he has a new book out. I will try to link it later on to the description of the video. But today, this afternoon, I really want to talk about this particular post I see. And it's related to Salafipubs. And if you're looking at it well, it's talking about, it says the responsibility of fatherhood and advice to women raising their sons alone. And if you could read what's on the right-hand side, it's talking about different talks, right? And some of the talks, if you look at the titles of them, they are described as talking about how to raise children being a single mother. So basically, I have voiced my opinion, and it's on my channel, on Salafi publication and their associates, who are neo-Salafis, that they do not talk about the social issues in the Black community. And they are run away from many of the social issues in the Black community that causes single female households, the single female syndrome. What are some of the causes? They deny speaking about them. And if you don't talk about the core of the issue, then you will never bring the solution. And the main issue related to a lot of the problems within their community, unfortunately, which is in the Black community, is that they do not acknowledge Black social issues. And they hold the opinions and views that if you talk about Black African-American social issues and experience in America related to racism and white supremacy and systemic racism, that you are a Black nationalist. So unfortunately, them ignoring the systemic racism that caused the single female household due to government programs that were designed to bring out the Black male from the household, and the culture that is saturated in the Black community of Black males having misappropriate behaviors, that are not taking care of their children and their family. Unfortunately, that leaks also into the Muslim community, because when these males, Black African males and females, when they revert or convert to Islam, that their community, Salafipubs community, is not dealing with these social issues. So it's just lingering, and it's affesting, or had affested their community. And if you look here, by this program, is that how to raise children without a father. And this is the most dysfunctional type of program I have seen from these people. This is from the worst programs. And unfortunately, majority of the followers of Salafi publication, and here, this is the Salafipubs followers in the US and Germantown, East Coast community, Umar Quinn, Musa Richardson, who's in New Jersey, Umar Quinn, who's in Baltimore. So this phenomenon of the majority of the followers who are Black, African American, who have these dysfunction, that they do not know how to use Islam to correct these dysfunctions, because they believe that if you talk about Black African Americans, Muslims, or Black African American social problems, that you are a Black nationalist. And majority of all their followers are African American Muslims or African American. And unfortunately, that these speakers do not come from the Black community. They come from the white community. And the white community don't have the high type of divorce, or are divorcing for the same reasons, or their women not single mothers for the same reasons why the Black African American community females are single mothers. So they don't want to talk about the social issues that caused the black community to be dysfunctional and broke up. So now you see them having programs where they're not finding solutions, but how to be a functional single mother raising kids alone. That's basically what their program is saying. How to be a dysfunctional mother, single female, and how to raise your kids without a father in the household. They don't want to talk about these things. They don't want to talk about the feminist movements and ideas in the black community that a lot of the women have. They don't want to talk about some of the issues in the black community where the government intentionally took out jobs, job training, finances. And this is the same community where this is the same Muslim community right here, where in Germantown, Philadelphia, where their satellite headquarter masjid, Masjid Sunnah Nabawiyah, has been taking gunfire and people have been killed on the same block of their masjid. So they're living in a community of majority blacks with all the black social issues, and they cannot solve none of their problems. They can't solve the gun violence because they don't want to acknowledge black issues, social issues. And if you're black and you talk about black social issues, you are labeled by them as black nationalists. So they have the gun violence, which is at the door of their masjid now in Masjid Sunnah Nabawiyah. Now they're having programs that's going to talk about how a single mother to stay dysfunctional and raise her kid in this dysfunction, not being married, not having a man in the household. And unfortunately, majority of its followers, unfortunately, don't see this. And one of the benefits I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from blessing me with is that I learned Islam in the Muslim world. I learned Islam in the Muslim world. I'll say it again. I learned Islam in the Muslim world. I learned Islam amongst the Arabs in the Muslim world. So in the Muslim world, divorce is reality. We have the Quran and Sunnah related to divorce, but in the Muslim world, where you see where a lot of the Muslims are getting divorced, the scholars, the Muslim scholars, and the Muslim government work together to look at what's causing people to divorce and bring in solutions and programs to keep people married, to keep the Muslims married, because the Muslim government and the Muslim scholar understand that Islam is built on usra, family. The Muslim scholars and the Muslim government understand that the Muslim society is going to thrive and is built on Muslim family being together. ثم إذا نحن نذكر في Quran. And if we're to look at and think about Al-Quran, Allah says, قُوا أَنَّفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلُكُمْ نَارًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran, save yourself and your family from the hellfire. Al-Usra, the family in Islam, is very essential of keeping a community together, meaning having father and mother in the household. Divorce is there. It is permissible in Islam, but when you see as a phenomenon that everybody in the community is giving divorce, you find in the Muslim world that the scholars in the Muslim government get together and make programs to keep people marriages together. They make talks and social programs to do so. Well, likewise, we see the opposite coming from the neo-Salafi SP. Well, they're having programs to how you function as a single woman raising your kid alone. And they want to bring you some examples of, oh, some of the scholars in the past were raised by single mothers. Oh, yeah, there's some scholars in the past who had single mothers who raised them. Like Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah, some of the ulama from the Salaf, but that is by consequence. That's by circumstance. Circumstance. Father passed away. Father died. Parents died. Not by the phenomena of what we see in America, especially in the black community and their dysfunctional communities,
where they're getting divorced based on individualism, based on the love for self and being selfish, based on that they're not being taught how to be a husband or how to be a wife. And then on top of that, if you look at the names on here, right? Umar, Quinn, so on and so forth, you got to ask the question. And this is where their community lacks the intellect, Islamically intellect and academically intellect. When it need to be asked in this community, how many same speakers who's giving these lectures are the same individuals who gave divorces in their community, overseeing divorces in the community, which means that they are part of the fatherless households and they're part of the single female raising children syndrome. They're part of the problem themselves. You need to ask how many of the same lectures gave divorces or overseeing divorces in their community. And then they're going to have talks and lectures how you be a Muslim woman raising your kid alone. Oh, the billahi. Look at the dysfunction. And they think this is a praiseworthy program. And then if I go to the scholars in the Muslim land, they talk about divorce, they talk about khullah, they talk about the ins and outs. But when they see in their community that many people are getting divorced, they go, look, what's causing the divorce? How are we saving people's marriages? And then when you look at the scholars talk, and when scholars talk about these type of issues, and this is the difference between the real scholars and muta'allimin, and that's who these peoples are here. Umar Khwaniyah, muta'allimin, all of them. When the scholars talk, they go and look to solve people's marital problems so they don't end up divorced. They have talks and they go to the community and their peoples so they don't end up divorced. Divorce is the last final resource. It's not the first option to marital problems. Where in their community, marriage is the first, divorce is the first option to marital discord. And that's why they have the phenomena in their dysfunctional communities where everybody is divorced now and have kids. That's the neo-Salafi, pseudo-Salafi from Salafipubs and associates in America. This is the nonsense that they're promoting. They're promoting dysfunction. And their own followers don't ask and don't think. Don't ask and don't think how many of their so-called du'ats, the ones who are lecturing, are the same people who granted divorces in their community or overseeing divorces in their community, which means that they are part of the problem. They're the ones who also was causing the fatherless households and the single female syndrome, single females raising children syndrome. Only in this dysfunctional cult we see this nonsense. Then they have lectures on how women to raise their kids being alone. Whoa, man, what type of dysfunction is this? This is the only community I find from the Muslims in America that they praise, the women praise being single and alone. This is something that is praiseworthy. And they're saying people who give in the lecture, like Musa or Richard, I have a screenshot from his Twitter where he's like praising a young female and male who got recently married and recently divorced. And it said, at least it was halal and you tried. That's what we call the Muslims too. At least it was halal and at least you tried. Is this what we're calling the Muslims to now? We're calling the Muslims to dysfunctional marriage. There's no accountability in their community from the followers or their leaders. And you have to ask from the list of the names of the speakers, how many of the same lecturers in this lecture are the ones who granted divorces or overseeing them in their community? And you'll find that they probably overseen many divorces. Matter of fact, the head of their cults, Abu Khadija, has been refuted by Sheikh Wasi Allah Abbas from giving divorces where divorces are not needed, giving them. Matter of fact, their cult is even known from causing divorces where one of the members no longer want to follow the cult anymore and want to follow the blind following of their cults or their cult leaders. You know, our brother, Abul Aaliyah Battles. He wrote in his book, his latest book on them, even about the high divorce in the community. He even have a section he wrote where he dedicated to the sisters to talk about marrying men from their community, especially their religious leaders, because a lot of them been in and out of a lot of marriages. This is something this is a trait, the divorce, high divorce. And this type of behavior is a trait known for their du'at. Their du'at present and from the past. I don't want to name them name. They're going to get mad on Facebook. There's some of their du'at from the present and from the past that are known for this. The same people who they give the marital device that same marriage couple end up getting divorced, and the person giving the marital advice end up marrying that brother's ex-wife. This is the nonsense that go on in that community. This is the nonsense that's been going on in that community for years. And then when you look at a program like this, man, they have a program on how to keep the dysfunction going, basically. But see, their followers are laymen and they don't have the intellect to see these things. They said this would be a praiseworthy program. This is how normal dysfunction. I was watching the same sister who posted this. I got the screenshot from her. I'm not going to say her name, but I seen a Facebook post from her about 2 months ago when I'm like, sister was married. Now she has divorce status from Philly. I'm like, then she has a post where she's like complimenting her divorced husband, and she's praising, and she's using the term my newly divorced husband. May Allah bless you. And I mean, they got so much dysfunction with it. It's like the norm in their community when they get divorced to have a cultural thing where they're going to praise their divorced husband or divorced wife. What type of dysfunction is this? It's so normal. Divorce is such a norm in their community where they have it so they're celebrating the divorcee. The person is divorced, they're celebrating it now. Oh man, that's how dysfunction that community is. That's who I got the post from, the screenshot from. I actually seen it from her. I'm like, how are you praising being divorced? I had to say this to her. How are you praising you being divorced? How this is a praiseworthy thing? And this is where the cult of Salafipubs and the followers and the cult where they are at. The cult keep dysfunctions with them, and dysfunctional behavior is something that is praiseworthy in this cult. Praiseworthy in this cult. I hope somebody or bodies do a study on this group, because they are a cult. Somebody needs to do a study on them, because the dysfunction that runs in their community that is accepted to be norm, it needs to be written and documented and studied. Because you will find with this cult that majority, all its followers are African American Muslims, unfortunately. And every dysfunctional thing that's going on in the black community, they accept it. They accept it. They almost accept all of it. As long as you put on your name, you label yourself as being Salafi, is okay. And that's why if you go to their communities today in New Jersey and Philadelphia, especially Philadelphia, were the ones who go to their masjid, Germantown masjid, got a kufi, beard, pants above the ankle, and sell drugs. No lie. I lived in Philly. I lived in this community before for a couple of months. The dysfunction in their community is off the chain. And these are the same individuals who refute anybody who talks about black social problems as a black nationalist. And they got all the problems of the dysfunctional things going on in the black community. They have it right there in their community, and they can't solve none of it. They can't even talk about any of the root causes while they're getting divorced. How you have a lecture and you have a talk, and you have where everybody in your community is getting divorced. Now you're gonna have programs on how to survive as a divorcee. Man, I didn't see no programs like this in the Muslim world. In the Muslim world, the scholar gonna talk about divorce, the ins and outs, and this and this and that. But they're gonna talk with people having problem, and the problem is everywhere in the community. Then the scholars and the government start making programs that talk about what? That talks about how to stay married. A matter of fact, I'm gonna quote one of their own sheikh. I'm gonna quote one of their own sheikh right now. One of their own sheikh that they were fanatic about. One of their own sheikhs from Salafipubs, Germantown masjid, who been to their masjid, Sheikh Hassan al-Banna, rahimahullah. This is one of their sheikh from Egypt, right? Somebody asked Sheikh Hassan al-Banna in Egypt, one of the sisters from here, black African-American sisters who was living in Egypt, asked the sheikh, who herself divorced a lot. One of these sisters asked the sheikh about being divorced and getting married. Getting married by government or just in the masjid. The sheikh was like, nah. The sheikh was like, get married in the courts or get married with the documents, legal documents. So this could protect the woman. So even the sheikh, their own sheikh talking about, yeah, get the legal marriage in the government so it protects the women from what? Not getting divorced. And if they do get divorced, that the woman has some type of financial rights. And then the man can't deny that he's not married to the woman if they have a legal marriage. And this is all about in Egypt. We have a totally different social programs and social issues than black African Americans. They got totally different issues, social issues in Egypt. And that's one of their Salafi sheikh that they love and follow. The sheikh passed away. Matter of fact, if you go to Egypt, there's a YouTube video, because Egypt also have high divorce. There's a YouTube video on Egypt on the high divorce. So there, the government decided to make a programs where young people or people who are married learn how to live together instead of divorce. And one of the programs, a part of the program, the woman speaker who was talking, or activist who was speaking, was saying that they teach the women that they have to learn how to live with their husband not being rich, because they're getting divorced over finances. And Egypt is not a rich country. A lot of the people in Egypt are poor, and they know, the woman quotes, and they know some statistics, and the government also was part of the program, where they said when the woman gets divorced from the husband, she's going to most likely, her and her children is going to have a hard time dealing with poverty. This is a program in Egypt. Now, but we have from the neo-Salafi in America how to survive with these dysfunctions, because they don't want to talk about the social issues that's causing them divorce. There's a lot of problems in the black community, and they have it in their Muslim community. The same problems. What's some of the problems causing divorce? Feminist ideas, feminist movements, and feminist ideas. Financial issues and financial problems due to systemic racism and boycotting, the government systemically boycotting and keeping out the black the black community wealth and economics. Where someone say, well, yo, in Philadelphia, them brothers, they selling this on the street and they selling that, and they have these little moms and pop stores. That's not no real money. There ain't no wealth. Then you also have a lot of them, the women who living in Section 8. What are the criteria to get social programs from the government? Some of the criteria that you can't have no man in the house. So if you can't talk about single moms and raising kids, and you're not going to want to talk about the social issues that are there systemically put there by the government, you cannot talk about solving none of these people's problems unless you talk about those issues, because that's part of the core reasons why they have the single sisters having kids and raising these children alone with no father. Where you guys are coming from, man? Where you're thinking? So now you're gonna have programs on how you raise your kids without a husband in your house, man. What type of dysfunction is this, man? No, you need to have programs how you stay married, how you choose the right spouse before you get married, and how you stay married with your children, so your children don't end up being in other type of dysfunctional situations because what the parents are not married or can't stay married, or the mother keep on marrying different men. Man, stop playing these stupid games in Philly, man. Y'all guys play some stupid games in this community. Wallahi, this community here, they got the most dysfunctional thinking going on, and you try to give talks and lectures to keep the dysfunctions going. Man, come on, man. You're going to use the word Salaf and how the Salaf, some of them were raised by single mothers. Yeah, because the husband died. He died. Yeah, in the time of the Prophet, some of the Sahaba, some of the female companions, yeah, they were single mothers with kids because their husbands died in war. You guys are not getting you guys don't have single mother because your husbands is dying in the field of dawah and fighting jihad fi sabilillah. You guys are getting divorced because of your shahwa. You're following your shahwa. You don't fear Allah. Then you're gonna have lectures on how to keep the dysfunction going? Are you guys serious, man? Are you guys really serious? And then you have people who's talking to have no type of Islamic qualification. Umar Corner have no Islamic qualifications himself. And we'll write somebody to ask how many divorces did Omar Quinn and War Right and any other name on this flyer, how many divorces did they granted or overseen? And if there is a high account, then that means that you guys are part of the problem, and you caused the men without being in the house, and you caused the single female household raising kids with no man in the house. Oh, you guys are kidding, man. This is one of the most dysfunctional communities we have in America. And the saddest thing, you guys try to put Salafi to this dysfunction. This stuff is, Salafi is free from this dysfunction you guys are upon. You guys are not no Salafi, man. And if I look at the Salafi, real Salafi Shaykh, they're talking about how to fix people's marriages, not how to live and survive as not being single mother with kids. And you want to put Salafi in the Salaf? How many Salaf were raised with single mother household? I bet you look at some of the Sahaba and some of the people from the Salaf, the Salih, who came from single mother. The mother wasn't married 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times. The woman divorced, rare situations. Woman raised kids alone, meaning that the father died and there was some other male figure in charge of that child. Just like when we look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even the Prophet's family that were from the Mushrikeen had more wisdom than you guys. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was father and mother. Father died when he's young, then his mother, and he was raised by his grandfather and uncle, the men in his family. And you telling me the Mushrikeen in the past got more sense than you guys today, and you're Muslim? Man, this is a cult. Wallahi, These people right here, they are a cult. They have nothing to do with Salafi themselves. This is a cult. This thing right here is a cult. How you gonna praise dysfunction going on in your community? Man, that's a whole nother topic right there. A whole nother discussion. But this is the most dysfunctional programs I've seen in a long, long time. How you survive being a single mother. That's basically what you guys are saying. You need to give some talks how they stay married, how you pick the right spouse, how you stay married, how to make money. If there's one of the problems of the community, men don't have money, then how you create businesses for the people in your community, how you create jobs for the people in your community, so they can take care of their family and their children. They can stay married. Most likely people are divorcing because of money issues. Then he had to start to teach them Zuhud, the Sahabas, the Salaf, they practice Zuhud, and teach some of these women how to practice Zuhud. You got in Philly, in Philadelphia, some of the Muslim, you find some of the Muslim sisters, they got so many different habayas, you spend so much money in habayas or all these different fancy clothes. They didn't learn how to practice Zuhud. Need to start teaching their women how to be women instead of being a cult follower. You need to teach some of these brothers how to be men. But you don't want to talk about some of the people getting married and divorced in your community. The same people who's giving the talks are probably the same brothers who are hooking up some of these dysfunctional brothers with these sisters in their community. We don't even want to get into none of that stuff, man. Let me get out of here. I don't want to get into none of that stuff. Some of the same people giving the talks and the lectures are the same ones who overseen or gave the divorces themselves. Come on, man. This group right here, dysfunctional. This is one of the most dysfunctional. And then the saddest thing about it, they try to put Salafi on the name of all of this dysfunction. But you guys, man, Salafia is free from you guys. Free from you guys. I'm ending none. Assalamu alaikum.